Chapter 1: Time Travelers of Intellect. Imagine for a moment what it would be like if ancient humans, the ones we picture living in caves or building the earliest pyramids, were actually far more intellectually advanced than we often give them credit for. That's the question we'll explore today, diving into the rich tapestry of human history to uncover evidence that suggests perhaps we have underestimated those who walked the bumpy paths of Earth long before us. Many of us are familiar with the famous cave paintings found in Lascaux, France, and Altamira, Spain. These works of art, estimated to be up to 20,000 years old, are incredibly sophisticated in their use of color and form. What's fascinating is that these paintings weren't just hurried scribbles. They required a deep understanding of animal behavior and anatomy, not to mention the process of creating pigments from natural materials. Researchers have discovered that the artists created these pigments using minerals like hematite and manganese oxide mixed with binders like animal fat or plant juices. This knowledge of chemistry and color manipulation places them on a level of intellectual complexity we often don't associate with prehistoric peoples. Consider Stonehenge in England, an enduring emblem of ancient ingenuity. Built some 5,000 years ago, its layout aligns perfectly with the summer and winter solstices. This implies a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and the movements of celestial bodies. Recent studies suggest that the stones were transported from locations as far as 150 miles away, an undertaking that would have required not only physical strength, but also advanced principles of physics and organization. To those early engineers, moving these giant stones wasn't just a testament to their perseverance, but an indication of a communal effort grounded in complex planning and societal coordination. Let's travel further east to the Indus Valley, home to one of the oldest known civilizations, the Harappans. Their urban planning was remarkably intricate, with cities featuring grid system layouts, sophisticated drainage systems, and even air conditioning-like structures known as wind catchers. Some historians believe that such advances were not developed accidentally, but were the product of well-measured thought and innovation. The Harappans had standardized weights and measures and engaged in long-distance trade with distant lands like Mesopotamia, showing a grasp of economics and logistics that's astonishing for its time. The ancient Greeks, particularly the pre-Socratic philosophers, also demonstrated a keen intellect focused on understanding the world in terms of fundamental principles. Thales of Miletus is often credited with foreseeing a solar eclipse and theorizing that water is the essential substance of all matter. Anaximander proposed the concept of the infinite universe, a theory resonating with some modern cosmological ideas. These thoughts were not merely philosophical musings, but rather formed the basis of critical thinking and inferring truths about the natural world. Across the globe, the early Chinese civilization introduced a plethora of inventions and theories that highlight their intellectual prowess. The development of papermaking, the compass, and even early seismographs reflect a deep understanding of materials and natural phenomena. Chinese philosophers also explored profound questions concerning human behavior, ethics, and the cosmos, contributing significantly to human thought. The Book of Changes, or I Ching, written thousands of years ago, shows a complex binary code system that can be seen as a precursor to modern computing. Moreover, archaeological findings continue to challenge our assumptions about ancient human capabilities. The Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a shipwreck dated around 100 BC, is perhaps the most striking example. This ancient Greek device, often referred to as the world's first computer, was used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance. The skill and precision needed to create such an instrument suggest a higher level of technological sophistication than we previously thought. Taking all this into account, one might wonder why our ancestors were able to achieve such remarkable things. Was it their environment, the necessity arising from daily challenges, or a cultural predisposition towards exploration and thought that drove them? The question leaves us considering how intellect is shaped and influenced by context and necessity. Today's technology enables us to quickly calculate, simulate, and create. Still, our ancestors laid the groundwork with raw intellect, observation, and sometimes trial and error, laying down much of what forms our modern world. As we ponder the capabilities of those early societies, we might rethink what we see as progress and how we define intelligence. Uncovering the truths about these early thinkers challenges us to not only appreciate the legacy left for us, but to also question the limits of what we can achieve when necessity sparks innovation. As we understand more about the past, we're invited to see those ancient humans not as primitive or less capable, but as pioneers in their own right, harnessing available knowledge in extraordinary ways. This reassessment of historical intelligence helps us reflect on our own journey and the ongoing story of human capability and creativity. Chapter 2: Leap of the Lost Geniuses. Imagine a world where ancient humans not only survived but thrived, displaying mind-boggling creativity and resourcefulness. It's a bit like peeking behind the curtain of a long-held understanding, where each pull of the fabric reveals deeper insights into the surprising brilliance of those who came before us. For a long time, the prevailing thought was that ancient humans slowly bumbled their way to civilization, step by step. Yet, recent discoveries paint a very different picture. For instance, let's think about the complexity of the Antikythera mechanism. Discovered in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece, this ancient device once served as a sophisticated astronomical calculator. It dates back to around 100 BCE, and its intricate gears and precision rival the creations of clockmakers many centuries later. This single artifact alone hints at engineering skills far more advanced than previously acknowledged. Another astonishing example lies beneath the vast deserts of modern-day Turkey. Göbekli Tepe, often heralded as the world's oldest temple, challenges the timeline of human advancement. Built over 11,000 years ago, its massive stone pillars, decorated with carvings of animals, suggest a society capable of organizing complex construction projects long before the advent of agriculture, which historians once thought was necessary for such feats. It poses a tantalizing question. If humans had the capability and organizational skills to erect such structures without permanent settlements or crops, what else might they have been capable of? Consider as well the ancient San people of southern Africa, whose rock art tells vivid stories that date back tens of thousands of years. These paintings are not random doodles, but convey sophisticated narratives and hold a wealth of information about their world, their beliefs, and perhaps even their understanding of astronomy and time. They demonstrate an ability to communicate complex ideas through art, a hallmark of advanced cognitive development. Now, let's delve into the world of ancient linguistics. The complexity of early languages reflects far more than mere survival communication. It shows a depth of abstract thinking. Language itself is a powerful indicator of intelligence. Ancient scripts and oral traditions were not just functional, but often included nuanced storytelling, moral guidance, and record-keeping that required a deep understanding of the world. There's also the intriguing cycle of invention and loss. Imagine a scientist today uncovering formulations of chemicals or innovations that were lost to time, revealing that ancient humans may have known complex chemistry or basic principles of physics long before we gave them credit for. Some evidence suggests ancient Egyptians used a form of concrete long before the Romans, blending gypsum and other ingredients to build their structures. If this is true, it indicates a sophisticated understanding of materials far more advanced than we've traditionally believed. These realizations bring us to some fascinating debates in the scientific community. One theory gaining traction is that cyclical natural events, like massive climate shifts or catastrophic floods, might have erased evidence of highly developed cultures. Such events could have forced survivors into temporary regressions, where valuable knowledge was lost or lay dormant until rediscovered later in human history. It's fascinating to consider the implications of these discoveries not just for history but for our understanding of human potential. What if the ancient mind was not merely on a linear path to modernity, but instead a complex weave of intellectual exploration? This prompts us to rethink not just where we come from, but where we could potentially be going. Scientists and historians are piecing together the past like detectives, connecting dots scattered across millennia. Each newly unearthed artifact or site expands the narrative. Each re-evaluation of ancient texts provides puzzles to solve. Experts approach these mysteries through interdisciplinary lenses, combining data from archaeology, anthropology, linguistics, and other fields to form a more holistic view. In this rich tapestry of clues, the key message resonates. Human capacity for genius is as ancient as humanity itself. Whether these ancient peoples were deciphering the cosmos, constructing enduring legacies in stone, or creating vibrant cultural expressions through language and art, they were intellectually vibrant societies that continue to inspire us today. They compel us to look at history not as a straight line, but as an intricate dance of knowledge, creativity, and resilience. So, the next time you hear stories of ancient humans, remember the incredible subtlety and depth waiting to be uncovered. These tales are not just about the past, they are invitations to explore, to question, and to marvel at the boundless ingenuity of the human spirit. Chapter 3: Stone Age Savants. Imagine a world where ancient humans were not just surviving but thriving, their intellect and creativity pushing the boundaries of what we often perceive as a primitive era. If we travel back in time, what if we discovered that during the time of our early ancestors, their minds were not simple but rather incredibly dynamic and innovative? Could it be that our ancestors had remarkable intellectual abilities and problem-solving skills that laid the foundations for the civilization we see today? This exploration tells a captivating story of the brilliance hidden within the stone walls of ancient life. Shall we start by considering the evidence of early human ingenuity? Archaeological findings have revealed complex tools made by early humans, whose design required an understanding of material properties and mechanical principles. From flint knapping to create razor-sharp blades, to wooden spears designed for hunting. These inventions demonstrate an advanced level of skill and knowledge. Indeed, understanding how these tools were made and used gives us insight into the cognitive skills required to produce them. A stone isn't just a stone when looked through the lens of an early human. It's a resource to be shaped and adapted to meet various needs. Moving on, if you think about the art they created, it's clear they had more going on upstairs than some may assume. Ancient cave paintings, such as those found in Chauvet and Lascaux in France, present vivid scenes of animals and human-like figures. These aren't just random doodles on cave walls. These artworks reveal not only a talent for representation, but also a possible understanding of storytelling, culture, and even spiritual expression. Some archaeologists propose that these drawings show us a window into the minds of early humans, manifesting complex ideas and perhaps even abstract thinking. Could these be early signs of symbolic thinking, the capacity of the human mind to imagine, create, and communicate using symbols? Many believe so, viewing these expressive creations as evidence of a keen mind capable of deep thought and creativity. Now, let's think about language. Though we can only guess at how ancient languages sounded, the need to communicate complex ideas, coordinate group activities, and pass down knowledge could have driven the development of sophisticated language much earlier than we often presume. Some researchers suggest that the structure of ancient languages might have been complex, with subtle tonal shifts, nuanced meanings, and intricate grammatical structures. The ability to share knowledge, explain techniques, or narrate traditions would have been pivotal to survival and progress. One thought to consider is whether this linguistic skill laid the groundwork for the complexity found in the thousands of languages spoken today. Social structures and community living also highlight their cleverness. Early human societies didn't just wander aimlessly. They had to develop strategies for living in groups, managing resources, and solving conflicts. Evidence shows early forms of societal organization, from group hunting tactics to the sharing of responsibilities. Living cohesively would have required understanding roles, cooperating for mutual benefit, and even early forms of governance. Think about it. These communal arrangements would have demanded high levels of social intelligence and emotional awareness. It's also intriguing to consider their knowledge of the natural world. Early humans didn't just interact with their environment, they intimately understood it. Evidence points to their ability to identify plants for food and medicine and to navigate vast landscapes. This speaks to observational skills and memorization that rival naturalists of our own time. The debates on whether they utilized stars for navigation or understood seasons show just how keen their powers of observation might have been. Ponder this. Evidence of trade networks extending across hundreds of miles suggests they were not isolated but connected. This trade would have required negotiation, value assessment, and logistical planning. It points to a perhaps unexpected dimension of early human life, that of interconnected cultural exchange. If you picture early humans in this manner, they become astute traders, culture bearers, and innovators rather than just struggling nomads. One astonishing discovery is the possible use of early mathematics and timing systems. For instance, found objects suggest they might have understood basic counting, and some argue for knowledge of lunar cycles or early calendars. Like some counting sticks or engraved bones discovered at prehistoric sites, they could have been tracking something as sophisticated as the passage of time, a notion that truly makes you wonder about their cognitive capabilities. As we look at the relics, tools, fossils, and monumental artifacts left behind, it is fair to say that our ancestors were perhaps far more adept and intelligent than they are often credited with. This exploration isn't just about changing our views of the past. It's about acknowledging the depth of human ingenuity and resilience across the ages. So, next time you think about our ancestral roots, consider not just their survival, but their thriving against all odds, their creative problem-solving, and their untold stories of intellect and adaptation. More than just getting by, our ancient kin likely thought, dreamed, and invented in ways we'll continue to discover. With each archaeological find, the case grows stronger that these early humans were not just paving the way for the future, but already smart, resourceful beings with so much to teach us about the brilliance of the human spirit. This field is rich with stories yet to be uncovered and intelligence yet to be recognized. As we piece together their history, we gain not just insights into our ancestors' lives, but reflections of our own nature and potential. Who knows what other surprises this journey into the past will reveal about them, and ultimately, about us. Chapter 4: Ancient Minds Unveiled. Imagine for a moment what life was like for ancient humans. We often think of them as primitive or less advanced than we are today. But what if, in some ways, they were wiser? Let's dive into the intriguing world of early humans and consider this possibility. Around 200,000 years ago, our ancestors roamed the earth, navigating vast landscapes with no modern maps or GPS, despite what we might assume about their mental capabilities. These early humans demonstrated remarkable intelligence and adaptability. They developed a deep understanding of their environment, using natural signs like the position of the sun, the patterns of the stars, and the behavior of animals to guide their journeys and find food. They weren't reading books or data charts, but their knowledge was passed down in the form of stories and shared experiences, creating rich tapestries of cultural wisdom. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for their intelligence is the complexity of their tools. Long before the invention of the wheel, early humans crafted sophisticated tools from stone, bone, and wood. Consider the incredible hand axes discovered at places like Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. These tools were sharp, versatile, and designed for various tasks: hunting, cutting, and even building. The craftsmanship required to make such tools suggests a level of creative thinking and understanding of materials that's impressive even by today's standards. But it's not just tools that point to this cleverness. Their art speaks volumes about their capacity for abstract thought and expression. Take, for instance, the cave paintings in Lascaux, France, or Altamira, Spain. These ancient artworks were not merely decorative. They captured the essence of the animals they hunted, depicted with remarkable accuracy and detail. The ability to create art requires imagination and the capacity to symbolize, which are considered high-level cognitive processes. In addition to art, ancient humans possessed impressive language skills. While we may never know exactly how they sounded, evidence from archaeological sites suggests that language played a central role in their lives. The development of language allowed them to share knowledge, cooperate in large groups, and innovate. It was language that enabled them to establish complex social structures and pass down knowledge across generations, a key factor that fostered survival and development. Moreover, early humans demonstrated an understanding of their own minds and emotions through rituals and spiritual practices. Archaeological findings indicate that they engaged in burial rituals, suggesting they had concepts of an afterlife or spiritual realm. The careful positioning of bodies and the inclusion of grave goods indicate a belief system and an awareness of life beyond the physical world. This points to sophisticated cognitive abilities involving abstract thinking and self-awareness. Recent studies of ancient DNA have also provided surprising insights. By examining the genetic makeup of our ancient relatives, scientists have found that they possessed certain genetic traits that suggest adaptability to their specific environments. For instance, Neanderthals, who lived in the harsh climates of Europe, may have had brains wired differently to better process complex tasks needed for survival in cold and challenging terrains. Another fascinating aspect of ancient intelligence is their ability to utilize natural resources. Our ancestors knew how to harness fire, manage landscapes, and even practice early forms of agriculture and animal domestication. These innovations were not the result of blundering trial and error. They required careful observation, experimentation, and a deep understanding of biological cycles. What truly stands out about ancient humans is their innate curiosity and problem-solving skills, traits that have allowed our species to thrive. They faced formidable challenges with clever solutions, using creativity and innovation to adapt to changing environments. As modern humans, we are the inheritors of this incredible legacy, a lineage of thinkers, dreamers, and doers. So, the next time you consider the past, reflect on the possibility that early humans were not so different from us. While they may have lacked the technology we take for granted, their brains were wired for survival, innovation, and adaptation in ways that continue to astonish scientists today. By acknowledging their intelligence and appreciating their achievements, we gain a deeper understanding of our own humanity and the complex journey that has brought us this far. It's a humbling reminder of how much there is yet to learn from the ancient world. As we discover more about them through archaeology and science, we unwrap layers of our own history, sparking even more curiosity about where we come from and the limitless potential of human intelligence. Chapter 5: Intelligence Before Our Time. Imagine a world where ancient humans might have been smarter than we are today. This idea turns our usual way of thinking upside down, doesn't it? We often think of our ancestors as primitive, lacking the knowledge and technology that we have now. But what if, in some ways, they had a kind of intelligence that we've lost over the ages? It's worth exploring this thought with a fresh perspective and some historical clues. First, let's consider the mysterious megalithic structures around the world. Think about Stonehenge in England, the pyramids in Egypt, and the ancient city of Machu Picchu in Peru. These impressive structures were built without modern machinery. How did they do it? Even today, scientists and engineers wonder how ancient people could move massive stones weighing tons, align them with celestial bodies, and construct such perfect architectural wonders. Some believe their knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering might have been surprisingly advanced. One fascinating example is the Antikythera mechanism. Found in a shipwreck near Greece, this over 2,000-year-old device has been called an ancient Greek computer. It was used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses for calendar and astrological purposes. Its complexity shows a deep understanding of machinery and the heavens, indicating our ancestors might have had knowledge of gears and technological concepts much earlier than we thought. What about the intricate cave paintings found in places like Lascaux in France and Altamira in Spain? These artworks, created tens of thousands of years ago, are not just simplistic depictions of animals. They show a level of artistic expression and understanding that suggests early humans were thinking deeply, culturally aware, and communicated complex ideas through art. This challenges the notion that creative intelligence is a relatively recent development. Moreover, let's think about the ways ancient humans might have perceived the world differently. Indigenous knowledge systems, passed down through generations, hold vast insights about nature and the environment. The Aboriginal people of Australia, for example, have complex dreamtime stories that encapsulate their understanding of the natural world, its origins, and its spiritual significance. These stories contain sophisticated ecological and geological knowledge, signifying a deep intelligence rooted in observation and oral tradition. Studies in cognitive archaeology suggest that the brain structures responsible for creativity, planning, and abstract thinking were well developed in our early ancestors. This implies they had the capacity for complex thoughts and problem solving, which we often underestimate. Evidence also points to the ancient use of symbolic language, likely more nuanced than we might imagine, involving gestures, art, and early forms of spoken language that could convey intricate social and cultural concepts. Intelligence is not just measured by technology or scientific knowledge. It can also be seen in the ability to adapt and survive. Ancient humans faced harsh climates, ice ages, and the threat of large predators. Navigating these challenges with ingenuity, they invented tools, discovered fire, developed agriculture, and formed tight-knit communities long before the dawn of modern civilization. This adaptability speaks volumes about their problem-solving skills and social intelligence. Even when we look at the health and diet of ancient humans, they seemed to know a thing or two about well-being. For instance, the Neanderthals used medicinal plants and possibly practiced a form of natural medicine based on what was available in their environment. They had a varied diet, including lean meats, nuts, and wild vegetables, suggesting they might have had an intuitive understanding of nutrition far beyond what we usually imagine. Conversations with cultural anthropologists and historians often reveal that we should be cautious about measuring intelligence solely by modern standards. In ancient societies, intelligence might have been understood as a blend of knowledge, wisdom, and holistic understanding of their world, quite different from how we define it today. By examining the past with an open mind, we start to see that intelligence can look very different depending on the context. The more we learn about our ancestors, the more we realize they were not just surviving, they were thriving, innovating, and contributing to human history in profound ways. Just maybe, they were smarter in ways we are only beginning to understand. So, as we uncover more relics and decode the mysteries of ancient civilizations, it raises a thought-provoking question. What can we learn from the intelligence of those who came before us? Chapter 6: Forgotten Wisdom, Oasis. Imagine walking through a desert, thirsty and tired, when you stumble upon a lush, green oasis. It's a slice of paradise, full of water and life, right in the heart of the dry sands. Now, imagine if knowledge, like that life-giving water, was passed down to us hidden in unexpected places across the sands of time. Our ancestors, ancient humans, may have been much wiser than we often give them credit for. As we explore this idea, let's step into a world where ancient wisdom offers treasures waiting to be rediscovered. In today's world, when we think of ancient civilizations, we picture simple tools and rudimentary ways of living. Technology, as we know it, has only recently exploded into remarkable gadgets and machines. But was it really this way? Evidence suggests that ancient societies might have had more profound understanding than what meets the eye. For instance, the ancient Greeks, Egyptians, and even some societies that existed long before them, left behind incredible works that hint at lost knowledge. Take, for example, the Antikythera mechanism. This ancient Greek device, discovered in a shipwreck in the early 1900s, has fascinated scientists ever since. With over 30 gears, it could predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance. It's essentially a complex mechanical computer. And yet, it was made over 2,000 years ago. How did they manage to create something that wouldn't seem out of place in the early 20th century? Did they have other tools and devices that we've yet to discover, bits of wisdom lost over time? When we turn to the astronomical knowledge of ancient civilizations, we find even more impressive examples. The builders of Stonehenge in England, for instance, had a thorough understanding of the movements of celestial bodies. The massive stones align perfectly with the sunrise of the summer solstice. And the Great Pyramids of Egypt are positioned with remarkable precision relative to the cardinal points. How did they manage such feats without the tools we consider necessary today? Some researchers believe they passed down astronomical knowledge through oral traditions or encoded it within myths and legends. Moving to agriculture, ancient peoples demonstrated outstanding intelligence and ingenuity. The ancient Mesopotamians developed irrigation systems that transformed arid landscapes into fertile fields, capable of feeding large populations. Similarly, the Inca Empire in South America cultivated terraces in the Andes Mountains, turning steep, rocky terrain into productive farmland. These examples showcase a deep understanding of engineering and environmental management that rivals modern efforts. Beyond practical applications, their social organization and oral traditions sometimes held deeper wisdom about living in harmony with nature and each other. The Mayans, for instance, had a calendar system that not only served to mark time, but also tracked agricultural cycles and guided important cultural events. These calendars were incredibly accurate and showcased a complex understanding of both astronomy and mathematics. While it is often tempting to admire ancient structures, tools, and societies as marvels of technology and engineering, we should also seek to understand the wisdom underlying these accomplishments. The intricate designs of ancient cities, religious temples, and artwork often held symbolic meanings and conveyed knowledge meant to guide future generations. Some researchers and historians, like those investigating the fields of archaeoastronomy and archaeoengineering, are working to piece together how this ancient knowledge might have been preserved or lost over millennia. They examine fossil records, architecture, ancient manuscripts, and oral traditions to understand the depth of ancient intelligence. Of course, some speculation suggests that this lost knowledge might include forms of communication or technological prowess that we can't quite fathom yet. But even without reaching for the most mysterious explanations, the potential wisdom of our ancestors, encoded in less mystical but still marvelous forms, offers us a new perspective on human history. There is a growing interest in revisiting ancient techniques and understanding their potential applications today. Industries and governments are exploring sustainable agricultural practices inspired by ancient methods. Philosophers and sociologists are delving into traditional customs and moral lessons encoded in myths and folklore, seeking insights into more balanced ways of living. Imagine what we might learn by bringing this forgotten wisdom into the light, applying it to modern challenges with a fresh perspective. Could it offer solutions to the environmental crises we face now? Perhaps it can inspire innovations in technology by understanding how our predecessors viewed the world around them. As we peel back the layers of our history, we are often left with more questions than answers. What other inventions and ideas have slipped through the cracks of time, simply waiting to be uncovered? How might ancient people have interpreted their world in ways that could enlighten ours? This journey is about connecting with our past in new, insightful ways, recognizing that the ancient world was shaped by brilliant minds capable of designing tools, systems, and societies with stunning sophistication. By seeking their hidden wisdom, we gain not only a deeper understanding of our ancestors, but also of ourselves, and that, like finding an oasis in the desert, can be an invaluable gift. Chapter 7. The Infinite Wisdom of Ancients. Imagine a time when communities thrived not just with mammoth hunts and cave art, but with intricate systems of understanding the world around them, where every sunrise and seashell symbolized deeper knowledge about the universe. In recent times, Intriguing discoveries have prompted scientists to examine the possibility that our ancestors might have wielded intelligence so profound and intricate that it surpasses many of today's understandings. To begin with, let's consider how early humans navigated the world without GPS, maps, or modern gadgets. The study of archaeoastronomy has revealed that ancient peoples across different cultures knew the stars with astonishing precision. Take, for instance, the ancient Polynesians. They navigated the vast Pacific Ocean using a deep knowledge of star positions, wind patterns, ocean swells, and even the flight paths of birds. They developed a system known as wayfinding, which functioned almost like a mental map stored in the minds of the navigators. Such remarkable feats suggest a cognitive ability to synthesize large amounts of data into practical navigations, something modern technology often does for us, yet without the same personal touch and understanding. Moreover, recent archaeological finds at sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey challenge the timeline of human development. This archaeological site, buried for thousands of years and only excavated in recent decades, features complex stone circles that predate Stonehenge by thousands of years. The carvings and symbols represent not random art, but seem to have been part of a sophisticated symbolic communication system. The level of organization required to build such structures raises questions about the social and cooperative skills of our early ancestors. Could it be that they possessed advanced knowledge of engineering and mathematics, knowledge we assumed was beyond them? In North America, the Plains Indians constructed vast networks of mound cities, with Cahokia being perhaps the most famous. These mounds haven't always been recognized for their intellectual significance, but research has shown their alignment with celestial events, functioning as early astronomical observatories. This is echoed in the oldest known lunar calendar, found etched into a bone in Africa over 25,000 years ago, suggesting our ancestors had a sophisticated understanding of time and the cycles of nature long before historians ever realized. Our understanding of medicine also undergoes a re-evaluation when we look at ancient practices. The Sushruta Samhita from ancient India, written over 2,000 years ago, illustrates astonishing medical knowledge. This includes detailed surgical procedures and classifications of diseases that resonate even in today's medical science. Sushruta, often hailed as the father of surgery, described complex surgeries like rhinoplasties and even cataract extractions, a testament to the advanced medical knowledge that was developed without the instruments we rely on today. The idea that ancient humans could differentiate between complex musical notes is another interesting field of study. Recent research has uncovered musical instruments dating back tens of thousands of years, like the flutes from the Swabian Alps made of bird bone and mammoth ivory. Such instruments demonstrate not only musical inclination, but also a keen understanding of acoustics and the mathematical foundations of sound production. Music, a sophisticated form of expression, implies not just entertainment, but potentially used for teaching, social bonding, and even healing, underscoring a depth in human culture often assumed to be the domain of contemporary society. When examining the vast knowledge of ancient civilizations, like that of the Egyptians, we find ourselves facing the Great Pyramids that align with cardinal points more precisely than most modern construction achieves. Some scholars have suggested that their understanding of geometry and alignment, likely tied to astrological and religious significance, could have come from a base of scientific knowledge not dissimilar to our own but expressed differently. By engaging with the languages of our ancestors, we unlock further understanding. Deciphering ancient scripts has revealed myths, poetry, and documented observations of the natural world that echo the lived experiences of those generations. The linear B tablets from the ancient Mycenaean civilization offer insights not just into economic transactions but also into long-term planning and organization that would require considerable intellectual acuity. From these awe-inspiring achievements and practices of ancient civilizations, one can infer that their wisdom was profound, their thinking dynamic, and their understanding of the world perhaps more synchronized with nature's rhythms than ours today. Why then do we often attribute modernity with intelligence and antiquity with simplicity? Is it because technological and scientific progress has indeed accelerated? Or perhaps we fundamentally misunderstand the nature of intelligence, equating it too narrowly with technological advancement rather than a broader capacity for understanding and living harmoniously in the world. As we explore these ancient achievements, we're reminded of the infinite wisdom passed down through generations as stories, structures, and stars. Each discovery should inspire us to ponder what we have forgotten or overlooked, challenge our assumptions, and perhaps redefine the narrative of human history itself, one that appreciates the rich, complex tapestry of human intelligence that has always been there through the millennia. Let us remain curious and open-minded, acknowledging the deep intelligence of those who came before us, recognizing that knowledge is an ever-flowing river, shaped and reshaped by each generation that steps onto its banks. Chapter 8. Enlightened Ancestors. Imagine ancient humans walking the earth, not just surviving but thriving in ways that might make our modern brains whirl with wonder. It's an idea that's been turning some heads lately, as archaeologists and scientists dig up clues suggesting our ancestors might have been smarter in some respects than we give them credit for. Let's dive into this thought and see where the clues lead us. Around 70,000 years ago, something remarkable was happening. This was a time known as the Cognitive Revolution, a period when our ancestors began creating tools, art, and even the earliest forms of language. It's a mystery how this shift happened, but it changed the course of human history. Imagine a world where small bands of people were not only finding food and shelter, but also figuring out ways to plan, cooperate, and even entertain one another around the fire. This suggests a kind of intelligence that wasn't just instinctual, but imaginative and creative. There's evidence of ancient cave paintings that might have acted as early storytelling or ways of teaching, a testament to their complex thought processes. Take, for example, the intricate stone tools made by earlier humans. Long before Homo sapiens came onto the scene, species like Homo erectus were designing hand axes and other tools that were not only useful but also thoughtfully crafted. This required planning and a deep understanding of materials and physics, much like a modern engineer might display. Researchers using advanced imaging techniques have even found that the brains of these toolmakers lit up in similar ways to ours today when solving problems, suggesting they were using high-level thinking. Our ancestors knew about the healing properties of plants and herbs, a form of understanding that took generations to compile. They passed down this knowledge orally, creating a vast library of information that helped them survive in various environments around the world. There's a fascinating theory that early humans might have even experimented with plant substances, resulting in early forms of medicine and hallucinogens that might have expanded their minds and perspectives. Looking at the way they lived, it's clear they had a sophisticated understanding of their environment. They were brilliant navigators, traveling vast distances without the help of maps or technology. The Polynesians, for example, are believed to have traversed thousands of miles of open ocean, guided only by their knowledge of the stars, the patterns of the waves, and the flight paths of birds. Such knowledge suggests an intelligence that encompasses not just logic, but an emotional and spiritual connection to the world around them. Ancient communities held complex social structures and networks, essential for larger group living. Anthropologists have found that they traded goods over large distances, indicating a system that required trust, negotiation skills, and shared understanding. Some experts believe that the ability to form alliances and trade with strangers was facilitated by a form of early social intelligence, a skill just as vital then as it is now. And then there's the question of ancient architecture. The Egyptians, the Mayans, the Mesopotamians all were cultures that displayed sophisticated mathematics and engineering long before modern technology. The pyramids, for instance, weren't built by slaves blindly following orders. Rather, they were constructed by skilled laborers who understood geometry, astronomy, and a bit of what we might call project management. The layout of the pyramids in Giza, in relation to the stars and the cardinal points, shows a grasp of the universe that we are only beginning to appreciate. We might ask ourselves why we assume that ancient humans were less intelligent. Could this notion stem from a modern bias, believing progress is linear and that each generation is somehow more advanced? Or perhaps it's because much of their knowledge wasn't written down. Instead, it was shared orally and through practice, sometimes making it invisible in the archaeological record. Recent studies in genetics and anthropology remind us that our brains are not wildly different from those of our ancestors. The mental capabilities required then and now might not be so different, though the ways we apply them certainly are. The tools available to us have changed, but perhaps not our capacity for creativity, problem solving, and understanding. As we unearth artifacts and decode ancient sites, more stories of intelligent, thoughtful, and resourceful people come to light. They leave us to wonder at the human capacity to adapt and innovate. In seeking a deeper understanding of ancient minds, we're reminded of our interconnectedness, illuminating a shared legacy that might be far richer and more textured than we have ever imagined. So the next time you marvel at a piece of modern technology or a surprising innovation, perhaps spare a thought for those who came before. Their shadows stretch across time, reminding us that intelligence has many forms, and progress doesn't always mean new, but can also mean a deeper appreciation for what once was. Chapter 9. Brain Power Through the Ages. Imagine a world where our early ancestors, the folks from long, long ago, were not just surviving each day by sheer luck and instinct, but instead were quite clever in their own right, perhaps even more so than we tend to give them credit for today. They had their own kind of smarts that helped them thrive in ways we are only beginning to truly appreciate. To start with, let's talk about tool-making. We often think of early humans as using nothing more than basic sticks and stones. However, evidence suggests that they were quite the innovators. Consider the Acheulean hand axe, which dates back over 1 million years. These tools were not just rocks cracked open to reveal a sharp edge. They were carefully crafted with a specific design in mind. Early humans understood concepts like symmetry and balance, selecting the best stones and painstakingly shaping them with hundreds of strikes. This level of craftsmanship shows a sophisticated understanding of material properties and design that speaks to a very organized thought process. Language is another realm where our ancestors might have excelled. The development of speech is often thought to have been a slow process, taking countless generations to evolve. However, some scientists believe that early forms of language existed much earlier than we once thought. Studies of the brain's structure, particularly the Broca's and Wernicke's areas responsible for speech and comprehension, indicate these may have been developing as far back as 2 million years ago. By reconstructing how early Homo species might have used gestures, vocalizations, and facial expressions, researchers have proposed that complex communications, albeit nonverbal, could have been prevalent. This type of communication requires not just the ability to express an idea, but also to understand and respond to others, showcasing cognitive abilities that go beyond the primal grunts we usually imagine. Ancient brains, it turns out, weren't just larger or smaller versions of our own, but they were specialized to tackle the challenges of their specific environments. The discovery of Homo floresiensis, often termed the Hobbit due to their small stature, uncovered a surprising form of intelligence. Despite their small brains, they had sophisticated tools and possibly even fire use. This shows that brain size wasn't everything, but rather how the brain was used that mattered. It's a reminder that efficiency in problem solving and creativity can exist in unexpected forms. One cannot ignore the complexities evident in ancient societies. When studying sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, we find structures that challenge our understanding of when organized societal practices began. Built over 11,000 years ago, this site predates agriculture by several millennia, yet its existence implies a sophisticated level of social cooperation and planning. The construction, requiring a large community to work together, communicate, and plan over time, suggests a shared purpose and organizational skills akin to what we see in more advanced later societies. This puts into question the notion that complex social structures only arose with settled, agricultural lifestyles. Let's not overlook the realms of art and symbolism, profound indicators of cognitive sophistication. The cave paintings of Lascaux, France, dating back around 17,000 years, showcase remarkable artistic skills and a deep understanding of the animal forms represented. In these artworks, we see an early human connection to the world around them, narrating stories and ideas through images. Such expression requires abstract thinking and is a strong indication of complex thought processes that form the basis of culture and social identity. Furthermore, as we peer into ancient burial sites, we find evidence of something truly profound: ritualistic behavior and early forms of belief systems. Neanderthal graves sometimes included flowers and tools, hinting at a belief in an afterlife, or at least an awareness of the need to honor those who had passed. This requires deep contemplation of existence, suggesting a rich inner life and intellectual depth. In speculative yet grounded terms, if ancient humans were indeed more sophisticated than commonly believed, how might that change our understanding of intelligence today? Intelligence can be varied, not solely measured by modern-day technological prowess. It could instead encompass adaptability, social cohesiveness, environmental integration, and philosophical musings about life and death. By re-examining our shared history through this lens, it becomes clear that our early human ancestors might have been the unsung architects of cognitive complexity, paving the way for us without the need for skyscrapers or artificial intelligence. They contributed a legacy rooted in adaptability, creativity, and collaboration. That heritage serves to remind us that intelligence is far more nuanced than we often realize, spanning timelines and unlocking possibilities that echo into our present day. These insights into our past urge us to ponder what else might have been lost to time. Archaeologists and anthropologists continue to dig and delve, piecing together the stories that were never written down, but are etched into the very fabric of our history. As we continue to uncover new evidence and revisit old assumptions, one thing becomes certain: the story of human intelligence is far more intricate and profound than we ever dared to imagine. Chapter 10: rediscovering primordial genius. Imagine standing in the shoes of an ancient human wandering the vast savannas, forests, or mountainous terrains thousands of years ago. These early people, often portrayed in media as naive and unsophisticated, might surprise you with their cleverness and adaptiveness. There's a growing belief among scientists and researchers that our ancestors were not only profoundly resourceful, but possessed a kind of intelligence that allowed them to thrive in environments that would challenge many of us today. Let's first consider the tools they crafted. For a long time, people thought of ancient tools as rudimentary and simple, but recent discoveries have shown otherwise. The stone tools used by early humans were not just random pieces of rocks, but were crafted with great skill and precision. Studies have shown that making these tools required forethought and a deep understanding of the material. In essence, each tool was a well-planned project, suggesting a complex mental process, much like that of modern engineers. A hand axe made by our ancestors is not just a sharp stick. It is, in fact, an incredible technological artifact that required a high degree of skill to produce. Further shedding light on their ingenuity, let's discuss fire. Fire is often hailed as one of humanity's greatest discoveries and a pivotal turning point. Evidence from archaeological sites suggests that our ancient ancestors knew how to harness and control fire far earlier than initially thought. This control over fire led to advancements in cooking, protection from predators, warmth, and even social gatherings around a hearth. What might seem like a simple campfire actually demanded understanding and knowledge about fuel types, airflow, and temperature management. Additionally, ancient humans were exceptional observers of their environment, a skill highlighted by their knowledge of plants and animals. Through trial and error, they identified which plants were edible, which had medicinal properties, and which could be toxic. This empirical knowledge contributed to their survival and also laid groundwork for agricultural practices that followed. Watching animals and understanding their behaviors also played a crucial role. By mimicking hunting strategies of predators or learning migratory patterns, early humans could efficiently gather food without the advantages of modern technology. Communication is another area where early humans perhaps outshone what we initially give them credit for. While spoken language in its earliest forms leaves no physical trace, the complexity of cave paintings, carvings, and symbols suggests a rich tapestry of communication skills. These images etched in stone contain stories, warnings, and instructions that could be understood across generations, proving that human ancestors had a sophisticated way of passing down knowledge long before the written word. The concept of ancient humans being intensely imaginative can be beautifully illustrated when you consider their art and music. While strolling through ancient caves in Europe, Africa, or Asia, art historians and archaeologists have uncovered stunning paintings and carvings that reflect a deep sense of creativity and expression. These art forms weren't merely decorative. They had meanings, told stories, and captured the essence of life and death, love and survival, in a way that echoed the complex processes of the human mind. Adding another layer to their presumed genius, there's the question of social organization. Evidence suggests that even early human communities had social structures far more nuanced than a simple hierarchy. Decision-making and problem-solving processes required logical thinking and collaborative skills that speak volumes about their interpersonal intelligence. These communal decisions could mean the difference between abundant harvests and starvation, safety and vulnerability. Let's not overlook how they navigated the world. Navigating vast terrains without the aid of maps, compasses or GPS is an impressive feat. Recent studies propose that ancient humans possessed a keen sense of direction, honed by observing the stars, the position of the sun, and topographical features. This astute navigation skill further emphasizes their ability to interact thoughtfully with their surroundings. While much about the precise capabilities and knowledge of these early humans remains a mystery, recent research and discoveries encourage us to reassess our perceptions. Were they naturally gifted at mathematics to construct their shelters, or calculate seasonal cycles for planting and gathering? Did they possess an internal metronome of sorts to maintain rhythm in music and dance that had social and spiritual significance? These questions ignite a wonder about the extent to which our predecessors understood and manipulated their world. In this investigation into the capabilities of ancient humans, let's draw from our modern scientific methodologies to appreciate their legacy, studying them not as a lesser facet of human development, but as pioneers of innovation, intelligent decision-makers, and creative thinkers. As you ponder these ideas, ask yourself, could these intelligent ancestors have faced cognitive challenges similar to our own? Perhaps rethinking ancient humans' cognitive abilities also serves as a reminder of the impressive breadth of human ingenuity that has always existed, subtly pushing against the boundary between the ancient and the modern in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. This exploration invites us to marvel at our history and embrace the boundless potential of the human spirit throughout time.